Welcome back to A People's Guide to Publishing. I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing and Distribution. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 25 years.
I'm Elly Blue. I'm the editorial and marketing director here at Microcosm. We are an independent mid-list publisher based in Portland, Oregon, and Cleveland, Ohio. We have over 700 books, over 25 employees, and we make about 40 new books every year. And we distribute thousands of titles from other publishers.
We started this podcast so that we can share what we've learned with newer publishers so that you can learn from our mistakes.
Or maybe you just want to understand the publishing industry.
This week, we are going to talk about what we learned by packing orders.
So earlier this week, we had kind of this perfect storm situation where I think were 5 employees out on vacation on the same day.
And we thought 6.
Yeah, we thought 6. One of them showed up and we were very delighted. And all of them had to do with both either processing or shipping. So Joe and I were like, we'll spend a couple hours in the morning shipping and help us, keep things moving out the door. And it's been about a year since I last shipped.
Right, yes. We had the staff changeovers we restructured departments, so people that used to ship now handle processing, and people, and then we hired more people, and then we hired more people, and then we hired more people to ship because, book sales are up.
So we were doing a lot of filling in when those new people were training and when we were figuring out that we needed even more people. And then we stopped and haven't done it in a while, and it was fun, but it did have some surprising lessons.
Like what?
Well, a lot has changed in our mailroom since in the last year. Namely, it has been completely reorganized. A wall got torn down and everything got changed, and then it got organized at all. It wasn't completely disorganized before, but it was not the most ergonomic setup.
Right.
Not for multiple people.
It just wasn't designed for the volume that we were doing.
So I was standing at one of the new shipping stations, and my first thought was a little bit egocentric, where I was like, wow, I'm really way better at choosing the right box to fit this order in exactly than I used to be. And then I was like, oh, that's not that my skills have changed, because they certainly have not. It's that all of the boxes are now organized by size, so it's much more easy to eyeball and grab the right one. Yeah. And so that was what I learned was, yes, organizing your shipping station is tantamount. And there were also some things that I wanted to change, like not having to walk across the room to get packing material. Seems like an important one. I need to talk to Terry about that. And maybe we even need a second shipping printer, so... Yeah, those are all my thoughts.
Yeah.
What about you?
And that, because it's in my mind... when, I'm not shipping. But, a large part of my, more or less my entire job is systems thinking, which is to say, if this, then that, and what is the ultimate outcome of that? And then if we unpack that and work backwards from the desired outcome, how is the current system arriving at the desired outcome, and what do we need to change? And so that's kind of what I'm doing all day, every day. And then I'm looking at that interdepartmentally and with, and in a specific department. And so, it's a little bit shocking then where you're like, okay, this order is, 47 items. That shouldn't take very long. And then I see partly it's me who is out of practice doing it and finding things, and I don't, my muscle memory isn't developed for remembering where things are or were. But, it just takes a lot longer than it seems like it would.
Yeah, definitely. At the end of those 2 hours, the amount of mail we had ready to go out the door was not very big.
Right. Nobody was taking photos to, show the internet.
And partly there was so much because I was packing up and shipping things that already were ready, that had already been pulled the day before. So, so lots of respect for the shipping team.
Yeah, and so part of it, that was kind of my takeaway too, was I was like, trying to do your job has made me appreciate you doing that job even more so.
Yeah, it's hard physical work, and it's brain work, and it's logistical work.
Right. And so, right. And it's partly like sequence of events, and then it's partly, this ships well with this, and this boxes well with this, and, because the publishing industry, which we like to pick on, has, kind of treated this like it's unskilled work. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's unskilled work in the sense of everything in the world being unskilled work, like it doesn't require the same kind of education as, computer programming, mm-hmm. but it does require just a lot of different systems thinking skills to where you're, just to really smooth it out of like, thinking about how pools are most efficient and how, various like, one person to pack, one person to retrieve, one person to check, things mm-hmm. like that, because it just, things are so buggy and prone to error without systems. And then the more we, did it, the more I was like, right, this is why we have all these systems. Mm-hmm. And then a friend, or I talked to various people about how they handle this in their own warehouses, and it is kind of fascinating that everybody has sort of a different approach based on the size of the operation, which, is completely fascinating, because you would think that it would be more or less the same, but, it really comes down to like how far away things are, how easily retrievable things are, what happens when you can't find something that we allegedly have. Mm-hmm. And one of our employees used to work at Thrift Books and said that, like, instead of it being order by order, there would be a pull list that would be like, one person go get all of these books.
Or like all the books you need for all the orders that morning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've thought about doing that.
And then,
That's smart.
But it's only smart if that's like what contours what we need.
I guess if we had like a much larger, like it might make more sense for the Cleveland warehouse, like instead of having someone make a lap every time they have an order.
Right.
Like, because you essentially have to pick the order twice, so it would have to make it worth that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which probably only makes sense if it's huge, if the warehouse is huge.
Right, yeah, and that's more the issue, right? Yeah, and so, because you're not then separating by order, you're saying 7 copies of this book and 42 mm-hmm. copies of this book, and it's just not, then you have to take apart those pools and pack them into orders. But so that, it's, which leads me to my biggest point, is it's like every other task in publishing, you really have to revisit it and think about it and dissect it and like process it in terms of like what is efficient then,
One of the things that struck me when we were packing orders was that another thing that changed in the last year was mm-hmm. that like a year ago, if I packed an order and I was missing an item, I would have to either go back and like really scour and look for that item, or I would have to do that, and then I would have to fix inventory in our system, and then I would have to edit the order, and then I would have to contact the customer, and we've separated out all of those tasks. So now when you're packing an order and you can't find everything, you like maybe look a little extra hard, but you can also just like bump it into a different queue, and then it's somebody else's job to like double check, make sure if they can find it, they'll add it to the order. And if they can't, then they'll do all of the inventory and customer service stuff, so the shippers can just keep shipping. And it actually makes a huge difference, because like breaking up the flow like that used to be so frustrating and time consuming.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that process is really helpful.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so the important thing, whether or not you run your own warehouse, is that you're constantly revisiting how you do things mm-hmm. in order to find a more efficient way of doing things, and then being willing and open to change. Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub.
On Twitter at Microcosm.
On Facebook at Microcosm Publishing.
On Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
And here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.